Hello everyone and welcome to day 3 of the Kiro Hackathon. Today we're digging into Kiro Powers. We are comparing it to Claude Code skills, and we are actually shoehorning a skill that I have used in Claude Code into the Kiro CLI so that the Kiro CLI can use a Claude Code skill. Even though Kiro CLI is not officially supporting skills yet, we are managing to solve that. And yeah, we're also deciding what we're going to be building for the rest of this series. Check the timestamps for that. Like, subscribe, and put on the notification bell to get the update for when the next video is coming. Tomorrow we actually start building out the project for the hackathon, so stay tuned for that. So here we are, day 3 of the Kiro Hackathon. Yesterday we covered sub-agents in Kiro. We discovered that it's very similar to Claude Code sub-agents. Also had some issues with the camera yesterday. It's fixed today. But yeah, today we're going to go over powers. So Kiro Powers is the topic of today. We're going to take work tree manager power that I have built for Claude Code, and we're going to port it over to a Kiro Power and try to learn a little bit about Power, see how Power works. And we might also decide what to build for the hackathon today. So a lot of things to go over and probably a lot of reading documentation. So I'm expecting this video to be a little bit shorter than previous ones. But yeah, I have done some reading into powers already in episode 1 and 2 that you can look into. But yeah, we'll go a bit deeper into it today. But what we'll start with is actually we'll take the power that I already have. It's here. This is the work tree manager skill that I have for Claude Code. It's quite simply just a skill for Claude to use and create work trees and track work trees on my system and help me manage my work trees. It works very easily. Like, we can just demo a little bit about how it works here. So I can just say basically, can you please create work tree test 1, 2, and 3 and open them in the terminal for me. So this should use the work tree manager skill, as you can see here. And really what it does is that it sets up these free work trees on my system, and it will launch Claude Code, in this case, inside of each of those terminals for me so that I don't have to manage that manually. It will also track state and what's going on, all of my open work trees on my system, if there is an agent currently working in that work tree, and so on. So it's quite a useful thing that I use it daily. Every day that I'm writing code, I'm using this to run parallel workflows. So you can see it's about to finish up, and it's now starting my terminals for me. Should have 3 terminals here popping up in a second. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. So we have here terminal 1, 2, and 3. They all live in their separate work trees, as you can see here. And yeah, ready to work in isolation on 3 different work trees. So yeah, I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to exit out of those. And we can also just say, that was just a test. Please now clean up these test 1, 2, and 3 work trees. So it will just delete those records for me so that I don't have those on my system. But yeah, so what I want to do now is I actually want to go into here. Let's wait for this to finish. Okay, great. So I'll clean it up. And what I want to do now, I just want to exit Claude Code, clear that. I want to also, let's open this repo. Like, I'm already in my work tree manager skill folder. And let's open that up in Kiro. We can close that down. So we can see here, we can delete this. So yeah, we have here some scripts, some shell scripts, templates that we use, config that we can use where we can like kind of control the skill. We have cover image for GitHub, reading, and skill.md. So a few things that I want to do here now is I want to simply just make this into a power. And I want to try a few different ways how to do this. I don't know like how to register a power in Kiro, if there's such a thing. But what we want to do here to begin with is we can open Kiro -CLI, right? And trust all. Okay. We can do it with, let's just have Kiro do everything actually. So please delete skill.md config this script and let's folders. Okay, so now we are basically just deleting this. So I'm actually not removing anything that I'm using, but what we want to do now is we want to take what I have here I want to put here, copy. Really what I just did is I took what I use in my actual skill, like on my root folder, and I put them inside here. So rather than to just have, I did that so that the skill will be up to date with what I'm actually using in my system, with what I'm sharing on my GitHub. So a couple of things we can do here. We can just do .claude, create a new folder, and let's just put everything related to the Claude skill here. And we should also create a folder here called skills. And we should actually put that inside. So we do this like that, right? So now we have everything inside of skills. And now we do .Kiro. And what we do here really is we just take ding, 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 ding. We copy actually this to copy the main folder, copy into Kiro. The only thing we should have to change is really this to power. And that should actually work now. There is one thing we kind of need to double check, which is here. When we create the power, where do we place it? Let's take a look here. Kiro. So we have the power.md, which is basically our skill.md from Claude Code. Front matter should be the same. Onboarding instructions, I mean, I don't think we need to really edit anything. We don't need MCP servers. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we need to name it power dash, create your power directory, open Kiro Powers panel. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if there's a difference how we use it in the CLI. Okay, so it seems unfortunately like powers are not available in the CLI just yet. That's unfortunate. That's quite issue actually. So I'm not sure that's gonna then work for our use case, but let's give it a shot. Okay. What I'm gonna do actually here, let's just rename this to power dash work tree. Okay, let's take a look again at the docs. Create your power, open Kiro Powers panel, select your power. Keywords. Okay, so that's the only thing we're missing, right? We don't have keywords. That's what we would need to add most likely. And we add that probably in the front matter. Yeah, exactly. And this should be in our power.md. Okay, cool. Let's just take this. One thing I'm going to try first. So let's just open our terminal. Let's quit Kiro. And now we're just going to say here actually, please read power-worktree-manager /power.md and use the worktree manager skill to create worktree 1, 2, and 3 for me. So let's see if we can kind of shoehorn the skill in here. Let's see. Maybe we work tree. Okay, yeah, it's a bit typo. Yeah. I wanted to create 3 new branches. So this is just a test. So test 1, 2, and test 3. So this really gives us an insight also into how easy, or not easy, but how simple and primitive the skill architecture really is. It really is just markdown files that instruct our agents how and when to do something. And it's just loaded on demand. So it's quite simple. It's great. So you see here, it actually seems to be working. And we even have port allocations. Let's see. Yeah, so it's what it does here, right? Since it has an instruction to create registry file, it want to create the .claude repository, which is fine. But yeah, so that's how simple skills really are. In this case, we tell the agent when to load the context it needs. But how it works, like in Claude Code, for example, is that what we have here in the skill.md, like description, this gets appended to the system prompt, meaning that if we mention things like work trees, things that are mentioned in this description, it kind of autonomously loads and it knows when to use this skill. So you can see here, I have written here, use this skill when the user says create work tree, spin up work trees, new work trees for X, work tree status, da 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 da. So whenever a work tree is mentioned by the user, in this case me, Claude will know that it should use this skill. And when it uses this skill, it basically reads this entire document. And in this document, we have descriptions of how the agents should be using all of these scripts. So here we basically just have scripts for managing work trees and ports, how to clean up, how to launch agents in my shell, register new work trees and so on, how we track them, how we track the state of them and so on. So it's all quite simple and quite neat. We can use this skill in any coding agent by just having it read the instruction in our skill.md, but we might not have it as dynamically and autonomously loaded as we do in Claude Code. So that's what we're seeing here. Let's see, did it work? It actually didn't. So it did not launch, but we can probably just tell it. You did not use the script, the shell script to launch the agents for me. Yeah, okay. So here is like it actually launches the agents for me. So it's not as autonomous as it was in Claude Code, but it works, right? So we can shoehorn it a little bit into working essentially with any coding agent. So this, we could see here from the documentation that Kiro does not support skills, but yet we could use the skill that we had created in Claude Code also in Kiro. Sure, it wasn't autonomous. Sure, it wasn't the best experience, but it worked. Okay, great. Please clean up all of those, as that's what just to test. We're not going to use them. So yeah, just delete, clean up those work trees. So we're going to send that. In the meanwhile, we're just going to exit out of these terminals. Okay, so it's cleaning everything up for us. And I'll check that later with Claude Code. I know that the skill works properly in Claude Code just to check that the cleanup worked, but it seems to have worked here. Okay, great. So that worked. Now, then let's see power. We should go here. Okay, so we're getting some issues here when we're trying to install the power in the IDE. So it seems like we're not actually allowed to use shell scripts and JSON files, which is unfortunate and really defeats the purpose here. So we can't really use the skill out of the box. But as you can see, we can use it with the CLI that doesn't support it, but we cannot use it with the IDE that supposedly supports it. So that's strange, if you ask me. But yeah, so we don't need it to work in the IDE just yet. Let's just close that out. That's fine. What we'll do instead is, so the project that I'm planning to build for this hackathon, or the project that I'm planning to use as my learning project, is actually to build a CLI application, maybe even like a front end for managing work trees. So the goal of this would really be to assist us with the context overhead of running multiple parallel agents. So we should be able to run multiple terminals in multiple work trees with a single kind of interface that can manage everything for us and track everything for us. Maybe even we have an orchestration agent managing everything for us in this skill, or basically in the CLI. I'm planning to make it Rust based, so it will use, I don't know if you have used the IDE Sed. I'm a big fan of Sed IDE, and we will use the same technology as they use there. So we'll use Rust, and we will use GPUI, which is a Rust-based builder, basically, which is very performant and something that I've been wanting to look into. So I'm just going to use it as like a learning project here. But yeah, so this unfortunately didn't work. It also, the reason why it doesn't work is because it doesn't allow us to use shell scripts and JSON files here. I'm just going to delete this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Claude Code in the terminal here. And I'm just going to say, please commit and push the changes. So all I really did was move things into .claude and updated to like the latest things that I use on my system. Here we put that up. And if you want to use this skill in Claude Code or in Kiro or in any other coding agent, you can just do what I did. You can go to my GitHub and you can clone it. So it's here, has some star, got a lot of good feedback. It doesn't work on Windows currently, but it works on Mac OS and Linux. And yeah, it's a really helpful skill, really. So yeah, try it out. Let me know what you think. Okay, so since we are not able to get much further, we understand how skills works now. It's nothing special. It's related to how it works in Claude Code. Yeah, no, there is none that I really want here. I don't have a use case for it yet. We will test it later on in the series. We'll test these skills or powers, I guess, properly, because we want to build ours to work with that as well. So how we will actually make our CLI work as a skill is, since we build it as a CLI, it can be installed on the system. So it doesn't have to be contained inside of this power folder. So there will only be markdown documentation in there that allows us to load the instruction of how to use the CLI to the agent rather than loading in shell scripts and config files. So it will only be markdown that literally instructs the agent how to use the CLI that we're going to build. So that's how we will get over that hurdle. And yeah, so instead now what we do, let's look into this one, autonomous. So I'm going to log in here, open one here, Kiro.that, autonomous agent. Let's take a look. Okay. So we need to set up GitHub for this. So we will actually set up a new GitHub repo for this. Let's just do new repo, and we're going to use Shards. We're going to call it Shards. That's going to be the name of our project. We're going to say Rust-based. We're not going to give it a description just yet. Make it public. No templates. Let's just do this. I'm going to take this and exit slash quit. I'm going to create it here. So I'm going to there. And we're going to say, or actually, let's go straight into here. I'm going to seed into shards. And we're going to Kiro dot. So now we have a fresh repo here. Trust the authors. And yeah, so we have nothing in here really. Settings. Okay. And let's take a look. Ah, shit, we don't have access to that either. Okay, disappointing. And yeah, if anyone from the Kiro team is watching this and kind of want me to show how this works, I'd love to have access to this and kind of set this up for this series and continue to use it. But yeah, let's not use that. We can't use that either. Okay, fine. So what we do today then is we just set up everything that we're going to need for our repo here. So close this, but let's just open Kiro again in the terminal. We have all of this here. So we actually want to open maybe, let's just do side by side here. We can close this. Let's open this one where we have some assets that we want to bring over. So basically what I want to do, I want to open in Finder so that I can copy things over. I don't want that, but I do want most of this. Yeah, let's just bring that, can't we? Bring that, copy, close. One thing that we haven't done here, by the way, that we should do in this one, let's do that first. So yesterday, if you remember, we did a bunch of things with sub agents, but what we forgot to do is we never updated our devlog. So we want to add the devlog. So now it's going to run it for today. One thing that we're going to have to do here is just say, so the devlog is actually for yesterday. So it should be for January 6th. We forgot to run the devlog yesterday. So please update January 6th, not January 7th. So we're just going to leave that there. So yeah, I'm not going to keep these. Let's remove that. Steering. Well, we can keep this. This is kind of the dogs. We can remove that. Prompts. We want to keep. We haven't tested a lot of these. We will modify a lot of these as we start running things. But yeah, we're gonna keep all of those for now. Devlog template, devlog we're keeping. Artifacts, code review reports we're keeping. Agents we're keeping. Okay, perfect. So now we have basically set up what we need here. We're going to create a new file, git, and we're gonna say .vs code. We don't want that in there. Okay, perfect. So let me just take a look at what's happening with this guy. I don't know. Let's just send this. There we go. So yesterday we worked on learning Claude, or we learned how to use Kiro subagents. We compared them to Claude Code. We built a code review swarm and tested it. We spent around 1 hour on this. We achieved quite okay success here. We built a code review agent swarm that will help us in this project. And we shared it also on GitHub so that other hackathon participants can use it. Main challenges from yesterday, honestly, I can't remember. We didn't have too many issues. There wasn't too much of a learning curve because the agents worked very similar to Claude Code. the main challenges was in how some things that were not supported in Kiro. So there was a limit in what tools we could use on the sub-agents. They don't have access to web search, web fetch, stuff like that. So they only run 4 core tools, which are write, read, bash, MCP, if I remember correctly. And yeah, that will be some limitation, but I think we can work around that pretty well. We didn't make any kind of key architectural decisions on our project. We only tested the sub feature, more or less. In the next session, we plan to use powers. Yeah, I'm just going to update our devlog there. I'm going to let that run. And yeah, then we will pull that devlog into this repo, because this repo is now the one that we're going to be working on in upcoming videos here. And we're going to start planning out our project. So today we're not really going to go into like project planning and what we're going to build. We are more going to dig in a little bit to how we're going to build it, maybe set things up a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to use Rust for this. So I'm going to open the terminal, clear. We are in the correct one, so I'm just going to say Kiro -CLI. Okay, please explore this repository. So since we have some little files here, I mean, it's just the prime command, essentially, like I'm just telling it to read what's in there. There's essentially nothing there except for what we brought over here. And what we want this to do really is we want to set up a little bit of a Rust project here and maybe do some research on that. Perfect. So what I want you to do is just please update the git ignore. This is going to be a Rust project, so please just update the git ignore with common things for a Rust project. Or actually, let's not do that. Let's remove the git ignore and just do a cargo in it for a new Rust project. So here you see we got the git ignore from that. That's why I want to keep it there. Okay, yeah, let's just rename it to lowercase. GitHub too. Okay, there we go. Just keep it consistent. Okay, great. I also renamed it in GitHub. Let's now add .vs Code. Let's add the standard stuff for a Rust project to the Git. Okay, don't add that. I mean, that's fine for now. We don't need to have anything more there. Really? Let's just say, okay, please commit and push. So let's see if it does, should add everything. Okay, please let me know what was your commit message. Okay, so you didn't use co-authored by Kiro or anything stupid like that, so that's great. So let's see here, did we have any prompts for commit? We didn't. Okay, that's something that I will want. I'm just gonna do commit push. And now we're going to just add here, please commit the changes on this branch and to push it to PR. Hopefully there is some annoying notifications going on. I don't know where those are coming from. We should look into that. Settings. I'm fine with notifications, but I do not want sounds. I mean, as you could hear, we got notifications, like a little sound, even when we get I think it was when we got, yeah, so it's when we, let's see, when we get these tab completion things. That is very annoying. It could be something that I turned on here the other day when we were going over these. Just gonna check quickly. Let's do, I made some changes, or let's not try the command. So we do /code. We do Kiro @commit push. So one reason why to keep the names of this simple, straight domain. So yeah, perfect. It checks and it doesn't push straight domain, but we want it to in this case. So we are keeping this command very simple for now. One thing I want to do is I want to rename it actually. We just want to commit because we don't want it to be too long to write. Since we have to write, we can't autocomplete it. So there we go. Committed domain. Okay, I keep getting this error. Can we move this somehow? I just changed the name from uppercase shards to lowercase shards. So it's fixing it. Perfect. Okay, so I'm not going to do much more today, actually. I'm very disappointed that we could not use shell scripts in powers. I'm very disappointed that we cannot use the autonomous agents. I think that we will notice tomorrow how good Kiro really is at building. I think it's going to be good, and it's using Opus and Sonnet, so Why wouldn't it be? But some of the features in Kiro, I'm not a huge fan of yet, but we'll see as I build. I will be honest about what I find. If I notice things that are very good, I will be honest about that. If I notice things that are bad, I will be honest about that. At the moment, there's been some disappointing things for sure. We will dig in more to the details around features that we run into as we build stuff tomorrow, because tomorrow we will start to actually plan out the project that we're going to be building. We'll look into a little bit about rule files, setting things up, planning, going through like the spec stuff and all of that. There's really only two things left to do here. We want to bring over the devlog. So I'm just going to copy the devlog over. Where did we put it? Devlog. Just going to replace it because I just updated day 2. Perfect. And we're gonna here again then say that's it. Let's just do add to devlog. Should be able to do that from the CLI too. So this is the first time we try it from the CLI. Should work. I'm a much bigger fan of the CLI so far than I am of the IDE. We will be using both in like parallel as we build things, and we will compare them at the end. And I will compare the IDE and the CLI to Claude Code and SED, because that's what I'm normally using. Let's answer these questions. Today we went in with the goal of learning about Kiro Powers, and we were trying to build powers. We were trying to port powers that I've already built as skills in Claude Code over to Kiro. We spent about an hour. The main accomplishments we did is that we kind of shoehorned the Kiro CLI, even though the Kiro CLI does not support skills and powers. We shoehorned the Claude Code skill into being used by the Kiro CLI. So actually the Kiro CLI was able to use the skill, not in a native way, but we could just guide it towards how to use the skill. And it worked fairly well. I'm sure it would work fairly well as well if we used it. We're going to use it in coming days, so we'll see. And I would say that was the main accomplishment, is that since skills are such a basic primitive, we can simply use it with any coding agent. It doesn't have to have it supported natively. Some of the main challenges we had is that we could not use shell scripts or JSON files inside of Kiro Powers, which actually made it totally unusable for the skill that we were going to use. So we will have to create powers later on as we move on in this project. Also, that powers are not supported by the CLI, so it almost feels pointless to build a power only for the IDE, because we are very rarely going to use the IDE. We're mainly going to use the IDE just to maybe review some stuff manually, but we're going to use the CLI for the main part of this build. And yeah, I would say that was the main challenge and the main blocker we had today. We also had a little bit of a blocker when we ran into that failure, we started exploring autonomous agents in Kiro, which seems like a really cool feature, similar to like cursor agents or Claude Code asynchronous runs in the web, phone, and so on. So I really wanted to look into that. That also aligns a lot with what I'm building as my own projects together with Cole. So really want to test that features if we can later on. So key decisions made. We didn't make too many key decisions. We made one major decision though, and that is that we decided what we will build for the rest of this project when we actually start writing code. We will build a Rust-based work tree manager, CLI, and UI using the same kind of technology stack, or at least the same basic technology stack that SED IDE is using. So we're using Rust and GPUI, but we will go into that tomorrow. You don't have to document that. And yeah, so that's what we will build essentially. For the next session tomorrow, we will start planning our product. We will go through a spec or PRD process where we actually do some research around what we're going to build. And we probably start building as well tomorrow. We right now, what we did today as well, I forgot in what work I did today question, is that we set up the base project that we need for our Rust project. The name of the project is Shards, because we're going to shard agents on our machine. And yeah, Kiro CLI usage highlights. Hard to answer today. Mainly disappointing today. We will reassess that in coming days. Yeah, I'm just going to let that run. Once that is done, we will conclude this video.